I'm Cindy Medina, and I live in southern Colorado in the San Luis Valley. I do community work in the Catholic Community Center. My background is psychology. I had a private practice in Seattle for several years before returning back to where I grew up, here in Colorado. I guess my relationship with her started in Einsiedeln, Switzerland, in 1986, where I was studying in Zurich at that time, process-oriented psychology. And I just happened to be going with a group of professionals to Einsiedeln to see the Black Madonna. I had never heard of her before. I had never heard of Einsiedeln before. I was just going because everybody else was going. And you know, it's a beautiful monastery, it's a beautiful church, and I was very awestruck when I went in. And of course, the first thing that I noticed was that this was a Virgin Mary, but she was a black Virgin Mary, and this is the first time I'd ever seen her black. And there were a lot of pilgrims around. It was on a Sunday, and I sat, and I knelt before her. The pews were right in front of her altar. And what struck me was she looks like 11, 12 years old, very, very young. And I had never seen a Mary so young. So I was struck by her innocence and her youth. And I asked her what she wanted me to hear. And that was an introduction into our relationship. And I feel like I have been hearing her ever since then, for the last 8 years. And at first I wanted to deny the experience, that really I did not hear what I thought I heard, and I denied it for several days. But when I heard her voice, my whole body resonated, and I became shaky, hot. I had to leave the church right away. I had to get some air. So my body responded. Even though my mind was denying the experience, my body responded very much. So about 2 or 3 days afterwards, I knew I could not deny the experience anymore. And at that point, I started experiencing or listening to the experience that I had with her. And it's taken me 8 years and plus to integrate this experience with her. And I feel at that point she entered into my life, and I've continually have had to integrate her into my everyday life. And sometimes I go back to Switzerland. I've been back maybe 3 or 4 times, and I spend time there with her. But I feel that she's with me my everyday life, that I don't have to go back there, especially in meditation in my dreams. I believe that she comes back to me in a very strong way. Well, I think her blackness, I would have to take a Jungian approach probably with her blackness. And the blackness usually means unconscious, that it hasn't become conscious yet. And I believe that she's still very unconscious, and she's asking us to bring her into this world, her energy into this world. It was real interesting because when I was in Spain, I had mentioned to the Spaniards, I was in Madrid, and I mentioned that I had seen the Black Madonna and in Montserrat. And they were very upset that I would call her black. And they wanted me to know for sure the way she got her blackness was through the candles. That, you know, they did not want me to think that this woman was black. And they went to such a degree to try and convince me. And I believe she's black because she is supposed to be black. That she has not entered our consciousness fully, and that is the process that I'm in, or that we're in, into bringing her into consciousness. So I think that she's very unconscious at this point, although beginning to become more conscious. So I think she's black because that's what she's supposed to be, is black. So we have the Virgin Mary that we in America are very familiar with. The white, the purity, the Virgin Mary that is in many Catholic churches. I see her and the Black Madonna as aspects of the same one. The Virgin Mary, we admire her for her purity. her gentleness, her submissiveness, and that is all part of her. But the blackness in her is very much that part that is the great mother. I really see the Black Madonna as the great mother. That she loves us and she cares about us, that she's compassionate. And that really is the emphasis of the Black Madonna. I had a client once and he looked at my black icon of the Black Madonna and he said, you know, she is the path of the heart. And he's right. She is the path of the heart because her energy comes from the heart, from the love and compassion part of our being. And so the White Virgin or the Virgin Mary is sometimes one that we cannot identify with because she's so pure that it's hard because we're human, and it's much easier to identify with the blackness of the Black Virgin Mary because I tend to believe that, you know, she knows what we're going through in childbirth, the struggles we have as men and women, that she's able to identify with me in those. So if she's able to do that, then she is more readily available to me, is able to listen to me. There's much more of an openness in our relationship. The Virgin Mary, the White Virgin, is almost unapproachable because of her purity. So that's kind of the black and the white that make the whole. And I see those as the difference between the two. And it's very unusual in America to see the Black Virgin. In Europe, I think she's much more common. Probably the closest we have here is in Mexico, Our Lady of Guadalupe, where she looks very Indianish, Hispanic, much darker than the Virgin Mary. That's probably the closest we have to the Black Madonna. Well, you know, Marion Woodman has done a lot of writing with the Pregnant Virgin. Is that it?
Yeah.
It's okay, the Pregnant Virgin, and how she talks about when we're true to ourselves and true to others, that is part of our virginity. When we can be all that we are, truly what we are, then we become pregnant in terms of creativity and being of all of who we are. So in my relationship with the Black Madonna, she has demanded that I be as honest as I possibly can with myself and with the people around me. And that's really tough. So when I say things, when I do things, it has to come from my heart, the heart of purity. I can't go to someone and gossip about one person and turn around and pretend that I like this person when I really maybe don't care about this person. I have some issues with this person. She moves me to sort out these issues with these people that I might have. I have to be as true as I possibly can. I cannot go to church on Sunday and then live a life with little love during the week. I have to live with that love every moment in my life. And so I believe that's where the virginity comes from, the purity of heart. If I see a child in need, I can't ignore that child. I have to respond to that child in some way if my heart moves me to. That again comes from that purity of heart. So we have to carry that virgin within us, that purity, in order to really carry out the energy of the Black Madonna. I can only speak from my relationship that I have with her and the demands that she has made or on me. And so we've talked about virginity, the purity of heart that is so important. It's also important for me to live in the moment, that the process is as important or more important than the goal or the achievement of whatever I'm doing, that I need to pause. I have to respond either to an inner voice or to another person. That it's a much slower process, but it's a very healing process and it's a richer process. And So I've had to before I came back to Colorado, my life was very busy, rush, rush, rush. I was here, there. I could no longer live like that. That life I had to leave behind. I had to, if I had time with my children, I had to spend that time with them as fully as I can. She really asked me to be as fully as I can in everything I do. So if I have a strong meditation, it's not something that I can just have a strong meditation and run out of the house and go to my next appointment or do this or that I have to stay and respond to it. That if I've had a very busy day, then usually what I have to do is take 2 or 3 days to process that day, to get centered again. It's the rush, rush, rush is out of my life right now. It's really living in the moment. And sometimes in our society where we are so goal-oriented and so achievement-oriented, it was hard for me to accept that. It's like if I didn't do 20 appointments, went to 30 different places, did at least 40 things a day, then somehow I wasn't good enough, that my goodness was based on what I achieved rather than my sense of being. And I am still working on that now. That is, I think I've been so indoctrinated into that belief system that it's probably going to take my entire life to let go of that. That my goodness is just in terms of who I am. It doesn't matter the things that I do. It's just I carry that within me. And that's tough. That's really tough. Because I think part of the Black Madonna is a journey of sacrifice. And unless we accept those sacrifices, we can't stay on that path of the straight and narrow. It's a sacrifice of giving up things that we know will take us away from focus on her, either our way of life, relationships, whatever. And sometimes it's hard to give that up, but she is a path of sacrifice, that the two go hand in hand, and that's very difficult. This is not an easy path, and it has not been an easy path for me. When I first moved to Colorado, I did not dare leave this place because I knew I'd never come back. It was so difficult to transition from a busy city life to a rural countryside. I mean, I was so used to having such a different life that it took me at least a year to believe that somehow I was going to make it here. But it was like I was being torn apart inside. And now, of course, I wouldn't think of leaving this area for any great length. But leaving that life of excitement that I thought was excitement, of feeling important, I had to leave it. So it's been a very difficult process for me, and I'm sure for others who have made this transition. I believe that she is so important, and there's such a call right now for our culture and society, is that we need her in our lives right now. Our cultures need her, our lives need her. And it's very difficult to talk about her because she is such a great mystery. So it's like trying to talk about somebody that you just get this tiny glimpse of in the dark, that you see maybe this outline, or you get this sense, your intuition gives you this sense of who she is. But just that sense and that glimpse is so powerful that it changes your life entirely, as it has mine. So it's very difficult for me to talk about this great mystery, and I don't pretend to know her fully, and I doubt I will ever know her fully in my lifetime. But what I do know is that she has all this love and compassion for us, and that she's asking us to heal in a lot of different ways. And so I feel like it's important. These mystical experiences are very exciting and wonderful, but I think that a person has to take the next step, and that is integrating this experience into the everyday life. How do I live the Black Madonna? The moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed at night. And how I have done that is I have done community work here in Southern Colorado, and I co-founded a community center. And you can see very much that it's a heart center because love and compassion are there. Some of the belief systems that I have are that people know and have the wisdom to solve their problems. And given enough time and support, that wisdom will emerge. So what we have done here at this community center is it's an all-volunteer based center. So everybody in the community has some involvement in it. They either teach courses, are folklorical dancers or coaches, are part of share distribution teams, part of the tutoring program. They're involved in some way that can bring out their giftedness and talents into the community. And sometimes that's hard for people. I remember one time we had a woman come to the community center and said, well, I really can't do anything, but I'm here. She felt that she really didn't have anything that she could contribute. Well, all we needed to see that she was there, and of course, we got her involved in, I can't remember exactly what it was at that time, what program and everything, but at least she got herself there. There must have been something in her that said, well, at a conscious level, you may not know that something there is there, but something is there. Therefore, I'm going to go and contribute what I can. It's a Hispanic community that I'm a part of, and I believe that the Hispanic culture has many things to give to the world right now in terms of their culture and their language, Spanish. So we have a folklorical dance troupe of children between the ages of 7 and 14, and they dance throughout the valley. And the happiness and joy that they bring to people is just unbelievable. They wear colorful costumes. Their skirts are between 10 to 12 yards of material, so their skirts are just as full as can be. Big bows in their hair, and they have this beautiful, graceful movement to this beautiful Mexican music, and people have responded unbelievably. And I think it's just the spirit that they carry in the movements and their sense of being that they bring out in the dance that I think has been forgotten. And they have brought so much joy to the communities in this valley. And to me, that is the Black Madonna. That energy and movement in body is the Black Madonna. Marion Woodman also talks about the intersection between the body and spirit, and how we have to carry that spirit within us. So our bodies can no longer look or feel like an evil body, that it's a body that has become a vessel or a chalice for the spirit. So then we have to start taking care of our bodies. If this is my vessel, then I have to start eating properly. I have to listen to the wisdom that I carry in my body. So when I have a headache or I'm not feeling well, what is it that my body is trying to tell me? You know, am I not taking enough time? Am I rushing too much? Do I have some emotions built up someplace that I have not channeled? But I have to stop and listen to what my body is saying. And so we have to start looking at our bodies very differently. That it's really a holy place, that our cells, our essence of who we are is spirit, and we can't be cut off from our head above and just be thinkers, but we have to become feelers. And that has been another challenge for me, is that I've had to feel on a very deep level, feel my sorrow, my pain, my happiness, as well as others. And when I do that, then I become compassionate to myself as well as compassionate to others. But that is really tough. That's one of her challenges, is we cannot have a painkiller given to us where we can't feel anything. That we have to become real, and we have to become feelers. And that's not easy. That's hard. It's hard to feel that pain, my pain or others' pain. But when we start doing that, then I think we become healers. And that's another thing I believe that she's asking us to be, is to become healers. There are many different ways to become a healer. A healer can be someone who just simply, truly listens to the other person at a very deep level. I just returned from a conference in Switzerland, and one of the Jungian analysts talked about the wounded soul. And she had just returned from Bosnia, where she went to help professionals deal with the atrocities that are going on there. Well, when she got there, the professionals, the doctors and therapists that were working with the people, were so wounded by what they have seen that she had to start by working with them first. And she talked about how important it is to truly listen on a very healing plane. And she also talked about symbols and how symbols are there to give energy to heal, and how these professionals in Yugoslavia started working with inner symbols that came to them, and how these symbols gave them energy to heal and continue the work that they needed to do in Yugoslavia to help the people heal from the terrible atrocities that are happening there. So that is one way of doing it. One of my ways is doing community work, believing that community can heal itself by the members of its community. So I think that is the circle of the Black Madonna: the calling, the listening to self, the many challenges and sacrifices that she puts in front of us, and then to become healers to ourselves and others. And she's very demanding. I call the Black Madonna the no-nonsense girl, because some of the advertisements in magazines, you'll see no nonsense, this product, no nonsense. And they commemorate a woman who has made a big contribution to the world or to society. And they call her a no-nonsense woman. And I really believe the Black Madonna is a no-nonsense woman, because you can't give her excuses. You can't say, well, I'll do this maybe a week, maybe next week when I have time, or I'll have a break in about 2 months. It's now. She's tired of waiting. You can't give her sentimentalities, forget about. She doesn't want to hear about it. She's heard about it for years and years. She really wants action and embodiment now. And so when this energy is calling you with such force, you can choose to ignore it, but there's a price, I believe, if you ignore it. And the price may not be a very good price. So sometimes it's better to try and integrate that energy and to listen and to respond to it right now. She's a no-nonsense girl. That's just, that's the bottom line. She's demanding. So that's another side to her. I mean, she is the all-loving, the compassionate, loving mother, but she's also a very demanding energy that demands a lot of discipline in the way I lead my life, the way I take care of myself. It has to be discipline. I've had to give up a lot of things to stay focused on my work, because there's so many distractions in this world. I mean, I quit watching TV, and some people have fantasies, because I do all volunteer work. So I think they have fantasies about what I do all day long. I think they see me watching all the soap operas and sleeping until at least noon. And so people have asked me, well, what do you do with your day? I mean, you don't work. They see my volunteer work. It's not really work. I don't have a paycheck coming in, so therefore it's really not work. So I have to describe to them my typical day. Well, I don't think I have a typical day, but one of my days, and how it evolves, and what my commitments during that day. Because it's so easy to watch TV. It's so easy to be on the go all the time, and for me that's a very easy way to be. But that's not the way she's calling me to be. So it's always the constant challenge, and sometimes I feel the challenge is too much. So what's been very stimulating for me is meditation, prayer. Where I can go to the source, where she helps me to continue on. And there have been times that I have been so exhausted, or I didn't know where the resources were going to come for whatever project we're working on. And I just simply tell her, I have reached my limit. I mean, if you want this so much, you have to help me. I cannot do it. And she always comes through. So we are in a relationship. You know, I listen to her, I try to listen to her, I try to listen to her challenges, and I definitely believe she listens to me. That she knows that her demands can be overwhelming and can be difficult, but you know, behind that is the love that she has for me. And I can go on because I can feel that love. And I'm sure sometimes that's the only thing that keeps me going. But she wants that love and compassion brought into this world now. And she wants healing done now. And, you know, staying in the head, just reading about it, people have got to start action. They have to start being, integrating. And I think that's what's unique in what I'm doing with this community, how we're working together, is that we're really taking action. And we're 5 years in existence, and who knows what's around the corner, because we have surprises all the time. I mean, we started in about an 800 square foot facility, and we never thought we would be in a 10,000 square foot facility with 10 acres. I mean, that idea never even crossed our mind. So it's constantly seeing the unknowns come to being, and that's the exciting part, is knowing that those unknowns are around the corner. Not knowing exactly what it is, but knowing that there will be something there. Personal transformation is essential, because before we can have any transformation in the world, we have to start on a personal level. And that personal transformation, I think, prepares us to become instruments of hers. And her no-nonsense aspect, I think, is part of that. It's just she doesn't listen to excuses. It's this very disciplined, all-knowing type of energy. I can sit here until I'm blue in the face giving her excuses about why I can't do something, or I'm too tired, or I don't know where the resources. She doesn't want to hear it. I'm sorry. She doesn't want to hear it. She's a no-nonsense. You just have to do it. And usually it is in some type of action. It's just, I mean, it may be in some passive, maybe in reading, but she is a woman of action. She is a mover. And her energy is of movement on some type of level, whether it's a psychic level or in actual physical movement, as in dancing, but she is movement. Mm-hmm. We're like on the edge. And we know that if we fall, she'll be there to pick up the pieces. So that's the loving aspect of her. But it's the challenge of living on the edge all the time. Living with our dreams, living with the unconscious is not an easy path. I mean, C.G. Jung himself, I think his life was one of great sacrifices. I went to his gravesite when I was in Zurich this last trip, and a very simple family plot. And what came to my mind when I was looking at it was just ingratitude for all the sacrifices that he must have made through his lifetime to give us so much information about the unconscious. And I think the unconscious is where the Black Madonna comes from. I had a dream of Jung C.G. Jung. And the dream, he's on a rocking chair with his pipe, and the dream says, C.G. Jung. And then he bows his head to me, and that was the dream. I thought, well, C.G. Jung, I just didn't know who this man really was. And I didn't know what he looked like or anything. About a week later, I saw a postcard of him, and it was exactly the same image that came to me in the dream with the pipe. I guess he smoked the pipe. He liked the pipe. And of course, you know, I was just amazed. And Jungian psychology, definitely, he has been really probably the only information that I have received. And Jungian analyst has been instrumental in my therapy and understanding and integrating this energy into my life. And I guess when it first happened to me, when I first started this relationship with the Black Madonna, I guess I thought it was going to be just like a 1 day or 1 year thing. You know, I didn't know that I was going to commit my life to her. And maybe it was important that I didn't know that at the time, that it evolved and it emerged in a very slow process, because probably I couldn't have handled it at the time. But definitely the Jungian psychologists helped me integrate this experience. When I first moved here, when I was having such a difficult time, she came a lot to me in dreams, and I think it was just to remind me that she was present, that I wasn't alone. But this one dream I had was just of her with the cloak, kind of the ones you see of the White Virgin, and she came as the White Virgin in that dream. But she had these most darling little angels surrounding her in the dream. And she looked beautiful, but it was the little angels that caught my eye. They had these little wings, and they looked like babies, maybe between 9 months and a year and a half. And they were the most precious little angels I have ever seen. You know, the little big cheeks and the little wings, and they looked as real to me as if I were seeing them right now in front of me. And that stands out for me. And I think it was just giving me support at a very difficult time in my life. And there's sometimes I want to really see her in my dreams, and I don't. She comes when she decides to, and not really at my will, but at hers. Mm-hmm. Now, you had talked about animals, and the two animals that I have really had to deal with is the bull and the snake in my process. And right now I'm in the snake process. And when I first, about 5 years ago, when I first arrived in southern Colorado, I was dealing with the bull energy. It's a very, very strong energy. It's a determined energy. It's a creative energy. And the bull energy was really a prelude to my community work. Excuse me. And I think it was preparing me for that creative work that I had to do. But it's a very focused energy where if anything gets into my way, you just throw it out of the way. At that time I went to Spain, and I went to a bullfight. And I didn't think I was going to like a bullfight because the bloodiness, and I just didn't think I was going to like it, but I went anyway. And when they opened the door to the arena for the bull to come out, I could feel that energy across coming. I mean, they have incredible energy. And I loved it. I loved the bullfight. But that is the type of energy that the bull is. I mean, it comes out full force. But when you do work in this world, that is the kind of energy you need. Because if you don't have that bull energy, things are not going to be done. It's too easy to get sidestepped. I mean, I still struggle with that. I'm in the process of writing right now, and It is so easy not to write when I wake up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to say, I really don't want to get out of this bed and go to my computer. I would really like to stay in. But it's that kind of focused energy that forces you out of that bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and to get on the computer and start writing. I'm in the process right now of the snake energy. And I had a dream where a snake bit me on my left forefinger. It bit me so hard that the indentation of its head and fangs were left on my finger. And at that time, and I still am dealing with the rash, I've been somewhat ill from this rash for the last 3 or 4 months. And I believe it's around the snake energy. Like I said, I'm in the process of writing more. I think this is what's being asked of me right now. I also see it as a symbol of healing. So I am looking at of healing maybe more than what I'm doing right now with the community. That has not become completely clear to me yet. Like I said, I'm in that process. So different things are emerging. But definitely the bull and the serpent have been powerful symbols for me in this process. And I think they're closely associated with her. Many times you will see horns under the Virgin Mary. You will see a serpent at her feet. Those symbols, I think, are closely associated with her. Mm-hmm. I think the energy that I feel is, according to what viewpoint, I think in Eastern religion they would call it the Kundalini. I think in the Christian tradition they would call it the Holy Spirit. But it is an energy flow that goes through my body. And I especially feel it in my hands. So I feel like probably what is being asked of me is something with healing with my hands. And like I said, that still has not come into fruition. It's still emerging. But my guess is something around that. But when I first sensed this energy, it was as if I had bees in my hair. I felt like I had something in my hair. And of course, that's the crown chakra, of course, according to Eastern tradition. At that time, I knew nothing about Eastern tradition. I knew nothing about the Kundalini, nothing about chakras. And anyway, at that time, I could feel something going on top of my head. I put my hand through my hair. I washed my hair. I thought I was going nuts because I could actually feel this energy. Sometimes the energy is so hot that I've had to do something like getting it into a tub of water, being close to water, and somehow that releases the energy sometimes. Sometimes it's the energy that I use in creative work. Since I've been back from Switzerland, I've started doing more artwork. And it's not so much that I'm the greatest painter and I had to let that go, that I don't have to be a Picasso to work with acrylics and paintbrushes. Like all it does, it gives me an avenue to work with the symbols that come through my dreams. And it's been wonderful. I just sit there and it's amazing what will come once I put it on paper and use color or whatever. So it's really a type of therapy for me, and it's an avenue for this creative energy to be released. But it's scary. It's scary to have this energy within me because I don't know sometimes what to do with it. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by it. Sometimes I literally get sick. There was a time in Seattle where somehow the energy was getting stuck in my body and I could not walk. Every bone in my body hurt and I was convinced that I had the flu, but it wasn't. It lasted for several days until finally this energy could be released. This energy now with the snake energy, it's this rash has been very difficult to work with, but it's constantly trying to understand what this energy is asking of me, what this energy is about. So it's constantly being in relationship with this energy, getting to know it in any way that I can. But it's, it's definitely a process. And I'm sure there's not any one time that I'll fully understand this energy, and I don't pretend to. I think it comes into my life for me to get what I need to from it, and then it leaves. And it may come back, and then it leaves. So it's this constant process. I don't think I'll ever be afraid of being electrocuted, because I feel like I live with such a current that, it's not such a terrible thing, because I've had to live with it so much. But it's reassuring to hear that, because I think a lot of times it's a very isolating experience for me, especially if there's not a lot of Jungians here. My work, I don't have a support group here. So sometimes I think I'm going crazy. These things are happening to me. And I mean, part of me knows I'm not going crazy, but on a very body level, I feel like I am. So it's really good to know that other people are having these experiences, and knowing how you're working with it. That water seems to help me for some reason to get, at least momentarily. Gardening has also been suggested to me. Anything to do with the earth. I love the ocean. I had a beach home in Cannon Beach on the Oregon coast, and that was just so special for me. I'd walk on the sand. I'd put my feet in that sand, in that water, and it really helped balance me. But I don't have that here. Intuition, I think the Black Madonna is very much that aspect of intuition, that inner knowing where you just know. You know because you know. And either through premonitions or visions, or just that inner knowing. I mean, you know, and when you don't act on that knowing, I think it can be detrimental, because I think that's one of her demands also, is that we come from that spot of intuition. And there is little value of intuition in our society, where either we have a dream or just that inner knowing within us. People don't value it. I don't value it. If we don't have an intellectual rapport with somebody, then there's little value. And intuition has come to me in a big, big way. That inner knowing, and my life would have been a lot easier if I had responded to that intuition. I mean, I've learned that, and when my intuition is talking to me, I really try and make time to listen, because if I don't listen, my life is just a lot more chaotic. Yeah, I think she's really that, and that may be part of that energy. That Kundalini, or the Holy Spirit energy, is that point of wisdom. Mm-hmm. Well, the history of Our Lady of Guadalupe is she came at a time when the Indians were being persecuted. And I think Our Lady of Guadalupe is an aspect of the Black Madonna. She came as an Indian in that apparition with Juan Diego. Someone with dark skin, not black, but dark skin. And I believe she came that way so that people could identify with her. That here was this Indian woman who came to give them hope, to give them love in that time. So I think she comes in these different personas, maybe, with these different complexions, with these different personalities, but that it's from the same source, different aspects of her personality. And I think she did. She brought hope to a culture that was suffering at that time. And so there is the love that the Mexicans have for this woman is incredible. Even though it happened several hundred years ago, I feel like she's really alive today. In our community, people are named after her. We have Our Lady of Guadalupe festival or mass in December, and we try and have the children involved in it. We try and bring the culture, music, dancing as part of it, because I think people need hope today as much today as they did several hundred years ago. And I think she's very and can be very important in a person's life. But when I think of Our Lady of Guadalupe, I think of hope. that they were going through such a difficult time during that time. And, you know, it's not surprising that in Yugoslavia in the early 80s, when there were so many apparitions there, I believe she was trying to prepare the people for the atrocities that are happening now. She wanted them to become close to her, to their spirituality, to their soul, that would be their source of life during this time of atrocities. I hear stories that are going on there, and I can't believe what's going on there. But again, there, I think in the early 80s, she was there to give them hope, to bring them closer to God. And I think that was the way she was in Mexico, was she was there for the Indians. The conversions they had to Catholicism during that time, and there were millions of people that were converted to Catholicism through Juan Diego and that apparition. And that was the faith that they were brought to, was Catholicism. And so I think she's just a different aspect or a different personality of the Black Madonna. Again, I think it's significant that she came as an Indian woman because she is who she is. She appeared as Indian. And I think she serves as a model for me, as I can only be who I am, and that is a Hispanic woman. And when I can fully be that, then I can bring those gifts into this world, into this community. So I see her as serving as a powerful model, that it's okay to be a minority, that there's power to being a minority, that I have a lot to contribute because of my culture, because of my language. I have that contribution to make to this world. So she serves as a wonderful model that it's okay. That it's okay to be who I am. And actually, I cannot be anything other than who I am. But sometimes, because of pressures in society, I try and be other than who I am, and that's impossible. Then I start dealing with issues and problems and not being true to who I am. And again, that's the honesty of I can only be who I am. And that is a Hispanic woman. And I have that gift to bring to this world and into this community. So I think it's a model. She serves as a model for me. You know, I mean, when you see somebody like her with this dark skin and olive complexion, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good that that there's this woman who is so loving, so powerful, so compassionate, that she comes as an Indian woman. I mean, it's somebody that you can identify with. And I think when a person can identify with another person, it just helps to create a closer relationship. Well, I think when we have hope, we can identify with the wisdom that we carry with us. And then we can't accept victimization. Poor me, look what the Americans are doing, or look at my neighbor, what they're doing to me. It cuts through victimization. I am no longer a victim. I have to take action on what I know, what is right or wrong. I cannot make excuses, but I have to do something about it. So it just cuts through that. And so we become very proactive people based on our inner wisdom and on what we think and feel. And it's been challenging for me to work with people who have this type of consciousness, that it's poor me, all this is happening to me. It's a helplessness, and it keeps them stuck where they're at. And I see that as just opposite of Our Lady of Guadalupe, where she says she gives us hope that there is a way of being, of whatever problem it may be, that there is a solution to it, and the solution is within me. So I I have little tolerance for people who criticize a lot and don't do a whole lot of things. I feel like if you really believe that, then I think you need to start doing something about it, either on a personal level or on a community level. But you know, the time is for action, and the time is now. And it's just talk, lip service. It's just, that's of the past. So I guess I think that's how she does it. She just cuts through that victimization and gives us hope in ourselves and who we are. I think that it's easy to say, well, this is just a feminine thing, or you're just, oh, I've heard terrible things. I've heard people say, you know, we're feminine Nazis. I had never heard that before. A feminist. This is not just a feminine woman thing. This has to deal with every man and woman, because every man carries the feminine essence in them. They carry the feminine and the masculine, as well as a woman carries both sides. And it's really, the feminine energy, I think, is really asking to be looked at, to be brought into this world in every human being. When I was in Switzerland again for this conference, one of the presenters kind of said that, you know, the women were going to have to do this, bring the feminine in. And I was thinking inside that no, it will go so much faster if every man and woman will do it. And so it's not a religious type of thing. It's not just a Catholic thing. It's more on a psychic level. I think her message is, you know, on so many different levels, but if I could simplify it, it is to take action now, but to take action with love and compassion, and not with power and control. And to do it in a heartfelt way. That this is coming from the heart, not so much from the mind, although, you know, it can be a rational type of approach, but this is definitely the journey of the heart. I had come back from Switzerland in 1986, and I could not find a Madonna black in the United States. I mean, I could find all the white virgins, but I really wanted her black. And Our Lady Guadalupe, she was Indian looking. She was not black enough. I really wanted her black. So my ex-husband was having a vacation up in Anchorage. He and his best friend were going on vacation up there. So he asked me what I want, and I said, I would love an icon of the Black Madonna. So he calls me, and he's in the middle of his trip, and he says, cannot find one of the Black Madonna. There's lots of white ones. Do you want a white one? I said, no, I really don't want a white one. I really want a black one. He said, okay. And so he hangs up, and then he surprises me with this icon. And apparently what happened is he went back to an art dealer in Anchorage, and he had just put this icon up on the wall for about an hour. And the art dealer, had gone to San Francisco to an estate sale of a family there that has had this icon since the turn of the century. One of the sisters died, so they put the estate up for sale. The art dealer went down to San Francisco, picked it up, took it up to Anchorage, hung it up on the wall, and then that's when my ex-husband walked in the door, and that's how I got this icon. So it's very special. It's just, it just means so much for me. And I do a lot of meditation and prayer and in front of it, and it's over 250 years old, and it's just very special. And then the weaving was done by Epi Archuleta from Copuline. And I gave her a picture of the Black Madonna in Einsiedel. And she kept on asking me, are you sure you want her black? I said, no, I want her black. There seems to be some resistance to this blackness. And so she made this weaving for me, but it's according to her style, because it's very much a Southwest style with the turquoise and everything. I love it. It's very much, it has Effie's personality in it. But she said it's one of the hardest weavings that she's ever had to do. That the face, that the eyes were just, they almost looked dead, she said. I was very interested in her experience with it, because I feel like there is probably a part of her that is dead, that is trying to be brought back. And so Effie Archuleta is the one that did the weaving for me. Why it's so unconscious, I'm not sure, but that it is unconscious, but it's definitely wanting to come into consciousness now. I am curious about the shift of why, where the repression or the hiding, what in our society made that happen. You know, there was a shift, whether it was a shift from intuition to rational, being the rational part of us, but there was some major shift there that happened, and I don't pretend to understand what it was, but I think the shift is happening again. And I think the mystery of her all, you know, that mystery, that unknowing, the blackness, I think that's part of who she is that blackness. Well, you know, she is a woman of work, and I think, you know, there probably is some resistance to what all the work and challenges she presents to us.